do a quick tutorial on how to do Project Zero Alpha for students who are using a Windows computer. I'm using Windows 8. I've already pre-installed PuTTY, WinSCP, and 7-zip. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the Piazza webpage. We're going to download the files that we need for the project. So that's all of these files. We'll just download that to our downloads directory. And so we've downloaded all of our files. Now we're going to go ahead and say show in folder. So now that I have these files downloaded, I will actually create the directory structure necessary for the assignment. So if we look at the project companion, we'll see that the directory structure that we want should be a directory named with our net ID and underscore in the name of the assignment. For this assignment, the name is echoer. So I'm going to open that up, and I want to copy the files from the downloads now to the echoer directory. So inside the echoer directory, all of these files that start with src underscore, we actually want to locate those in a directory called src. Src is typically short for source, and that's usually where we want to store the source files for our project. So all of these would need to be located in the source directory. So I'm going to open that now, but of course we don't want them to start with source underscore. So I'm going to rename each of these. Now they're named correctly for our requirements. So if I now look at the desktop, I have this directory. I have the files I need inside that directory. And so what I'd like to do is actually create an archive. We want to create a zip archive. So it's an archive ending in .zip. It uses a format that's actually just called zip. And so I'm going to use 7-zip. The easiest way for me to do this is to right-click on the folder, to go to 7-zip, and look for the option that says add to rlysecky underscore echoer.zip. That will create a zip archive. We don't want to use a .7z because that's actually a different format. So we're going to add it to this archive, and we'll now see the archive that has been created for us. I could submit this right away, but we should first test this on the ECE3 server. The ECE3 server is a remote server, so I do have to log into it remotely using a secure shell program. For us, that's going to be PuTTY. In order to copy this file, I need to use a secure copy program, and so that's WinSCP. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that to the server. I'm going to use the SCP protocol. We'll type in the host name, ec3.ece.arizona.edu. Our username is our net ID, and our password is the password for our net ID. And so once I log into that, it's going to connect to the host. You may see a pop-up saying that it wants to add a host key. So the first time you log into a server, you'll generally see that there's a host key. So now we have our remote directory here, and we have basically our local site here. And I want to copy that to our remote server. So on the remote server, my files are located in /home/rlysecky. For you, this would be your net ID, and these are all the files located on that server. So I want to copy this zip archive. I'm simply going to drag that over here and go ahead and tell it to transfer. And now it's uploaded that .zip file to the server. So I can also drag files back if I want to move files back and forth. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize that. And now we want to actually use PuTTY to log into that server. So we're going to do the same server name, ec3.ece.arizona.edu. In this case, I'm just going to say open. And here's the example where it's asking you for the key to make sure you verify the host identity. So we're just going to accept that. I can log in with my net ID and my net ID password. And let's try typing that again correctly this time. So now I'm logged into that server. Your system, your prompt may look a little different than mine, but what you typically notice is you'll see the home location. So this is, for me, is specifying the directory I'm currently located in, and that's my home directory. So if I want to list the contents of that directory, I would use the ls command. So that simply lists the contents of a directory. And we can see the file that we just uploaded, rlikeseki_echoword.zip. So the first thing we want to do actually unzip that archive. So I'm going to do unzip the name of the archive, and that should extract it, and this will list off all the files that have been unzipped. So those are all the files we expect to be there. They look like they're in the correct location. There are no additional files that shouldn't be there. So I'd like to test to see that it actually runs and we did everything correctly. So I'm going to cd into that, and now I'll see the cmakelist.txt, the readme.txt, and the source. So generally what we want to do is we're going to use a separate directory to build our system within. So when we're done with that, we can just easily remove the build directory. So we're going to create that directory using a command mkdir, that's make directory. We're going to call that build. We're going to cd into the build directory. Cd is a command short for change directory. And now we're going to run cmake. And we're going to tell cmake where it can find the top level .cmake file. So we just created the build directory, so it's not here. It's actually located one directory above that. So we're going to do cmake ... This will go ahead and search the server. It'll find out what compilers are available. It'll look at your cmakelist.txt file to see how it can construct the project for you, and the output of it is what we're calling a makefile project. It's equivalent to a project you may have in Xcode or Visual Studio, but it's basically a command line version of that you can run in Unix or Linux systems. So then how would you build a makefile project? You use a command called make. Make will go ahead and build that project. So you'll see the first two steps here. It's compiling each of the source files, and the last step here, it compiled and built the executable ECHOWARD. So if you get 100% built target ECHOWARD, that generally means you successfully compiled the program, but we can always go ahead and test that. So we're going to run that using the command /source ECHOWARD. This is going to ask us for that word to enter. I'm going to enter the word ping. That should print out the special message. And as we get the output here, we have give me a ping, one ping only, please. So we're pretty confident that we have successfully created the archive. We tested it on ECE3 server. We extracted it. We ran cmake. We used make to build the executable. We tested the executable. That works. We're now ready to go ahead and submit this to the D2L Dropbox. That's all.